Good morning, students. Welcome to the biology class. We are going to start with our new chapter and a very important chapter of biology, that is the life processes. Criteria to decide whether something is alive. So before we discuss that what are life processes, we should note that how we can distinguish between living and non-living organism. Very simply, we say the organism which can move, which can grow, which can eat, they are living, and the organisms which cannot move, which cannot eat, which cannot grow, they are non-living. But simply we say that the dog is running and we are moving means we are living. But sometimes the dog is sleeping and still we said that it is alive. Why? Because they are breathing. You can see a little bit movement of the body. So what are those particular movements which cannot be visible with our naked eyes, and some movements are those which are visible. So invisible movements are known as the molecular movement, and these molecular movement plays a very important role in the living organism for carrying out the various processes of our body, for maintaining the various, you can say, the life of our body or the living organism, and those movements are known as a molecular movement and the processes are known as the life processes. So the most important criteria to decide whether something is alive is movement. All living things move without the help of any external. Some movements are easily visible, like the movement of the body part. Some movements are not easily visible, like the molecular movement. The molecular movements in the cells and tissue is necessary for all the life processes. So the best way or the best criteria to distinguish between the living and the non-living is the movement, and the movement which is visible is simply that is moving from one part to another, and the movements which cannot be visible, that is known as the molecular movements, means the movement taking place in the cell, in the tissues, and carrying out the various important functions of our body, and that important functions of our body is known as the life processes. Life processes. Life processes are the basic processes in the living organism which are essential, necessary, important for maintaining their life. Means they are very important for the maintenance of the life, for the survival of the organism. Processes essential for maintaining the life or the basic life processes are nutrition, respiration, transportation, and excretion. So these are the basic processes by which our body works, and they are being interlinked to each other, and they are being known as the life processes because they are responsible for the survival of the living organism. Nutrition means when we intake the food and digest them, utilize them, that is known as the nutrition. Respiration means the oxidation of food and converting that food into the energy. And that energy is being transported to the various parts of the body, to the cells, to the tissue. That process is known as transportation. After utilizing the energy, the various toxic substances are being synthesized in our body and they are being removed or eliminated from our body. That process is known as excretion. So, nutrition, respiration, transportation, excretion, these are the important life processes. They are coordinated with each other, they are linked with each other. And if these processes are not working properly. Suppose if there is some problem with the digestive system that may cause the death of a person, if the lungs are not working properly, if the heart is not working properly, kidney failure is there, means that is causing a harmful effect to the body, and that may be fatal, that may be causing that may be responsible for the survival. So the processes which are responsible for the survival, for the living, for maintaining the life, that processes are known as life processes. मीन्स प्रोसेसेस जिससे कि बॉडी चलती है, जिससे जिंदगी चलती है, उन प्रोसेसेस को हम क्या बोलते हैं? लाइफ प्रोसेसेस. एंड दैट इज योर न्यूट्रिशन, respiration, transportation and excretion. So today we are going to start with our first life process, that is your nutrition. What is nutrition? Is the process of taking the food by an organism and its utilization by the body to build the body, to repair the damaged part of the body and for the energy. So nutrition is the process of taking the food in the form of nutrients. It may be organic, it may be inorganic, that is in the form of carbohydrates, proteins, minerals, vitamins, lipids, and utilizing them for building our body, for repairing the damaged part of the body, and above all for the energy of the body, because intake of the food means that is a fuel to our body. And with the help of that food, we grow, we move, and we develop our body, we repair our body. So that process is known as the nutrition. Life on the earth depends upon the carbon-based molecules, and most of the food are also the carbon-based molecule. That is your carbohydrates, your protein, your vitamins, minerals, they all are having a carbon, hydrogen and oxygen. The outside raw material used by the living organism is food and air. So these are the two raw materials. So when we intake the food, the nutrition starts. When we inhale the oxygen, that is in the form of air, oxidation of food starts. So these are the two raw materials which are required from outside for carrying out our processes, that is your life processes. So modes of nutrition, there are two modes of nutrition, that is autotrophic and heterotrophic. So autotrophic and heterotrophic means self. So autotrophic nutrition, in this mode of nutrition, the organism prepare their own food, means synthesize their own food from inorganic raw material. The form of nutrition is of two types, that is photoautotrophs, in which the source of energy is sunlight. So they are being known as the photo. Example is all green plants, not plants. You have to mention green plants because only the green plants can synthesize their own food. Next is your chemoautotrophs, in which the energy is obtained by the oxidation of chemicals. So if the chemical is a source of energy, that is chemo, and if the sunlight is the source of energy, then it is photo. The example of chemoautotroph is sulfur bacteria. So in this image you can see these are the green plants which can synthesize their own food. They are called as the photoautotrophs, and these are the sulfur bacteria, purple bacteria, which use the chemical energy for synthesizing their own food. Next is your heterotrophic nutrition. In this mode of nutrition, the organism get their food directly or indirectly from the autotrophs or from other organic resources. Means the organism, they cannot synthesize their own food. They depends upon the autotrophs for their food. That mode of nutrition is known as heterotrophic nutrition. The form of heterotrophic nutrition differ depending on the type and availability of food material as well as how it is obtained by the organism. So on the basis of these criteria, we are having the following modes of the heterotrophic nutrition, that is saprotrophic, parasitic and holozoic. First, we are having a saprophytic nutrition. It is a mode of nutrition in which organisms get their food from dead and decaying organisms. They break down the food material outside the body and then absorb it. The common example are bacteria and fungi. And among the fungi, we are having the examples like mushrooms, that is bread molds, yeast. Here the image you can see, that is the yeast cell, and they are showing the various growth of the yeast cell, that is a reproduction of the yeast cells. And in this you can see the rhizopus or the bread mold. On the bread you can see this fungus, that is rhizopus, and under the microscope it will look like this way. And these are the mushroom. They are also being known as the fungi. The mode of nutrition of yeast, fungi, bacteria, mushroom is saprophytic, means it depends upon dead and decay matter. Next is the parasitic nutrition. In this mode of nutrition, organisms get their food from the living organism, and living organism is being known as host without killing them. Example is Cescuta, that is your plant parasite. This is the image of the plant parasite. Lice, leeches, roundworm, tapeworm. These are the roundworms which are present in the human body, in the intestine, and they used to take the nourishment, the nutrition from the body without killing them. So they depends upon the living organism. Saprophytic depends upon the dead and decay organism. So Holozoic nutrition. In this mode of nutrition, organisms take complex organic food by ingestion. In this image you can see that is the intake of the food, that is a complex food, that is ingestion and then digestion and absorption by the body. That process is known as the Holozoic nutrition, means in which we take the complex food, then with the help of the various enzymes, the digestion takes place, absorption takes place, and that mode of nutrition is known as the Holozoic nutrition. Example is amoeba. In this you can say they intake the food particle, digest the food particle, frog and human being. So from the unicellular organism to the multicellular organism, when they used to take the food through the opening, that is intake of the food is there, and then the digestion, the mode of nutrition is known as the Holozoic nutrition. So we are having the two types of nutrition, that is autotrophic and heterotrophic. In autotrophic, we are having the organism which can synthesize their own food. Example is green plants. And in the heterotrophic, which depends upon the autotrophs for their nutrition. There are three types, that is saprophytic, depends upon dead and decay matter. Parasitic depends upon the living matter, and holozoic, they intake the complex organic food. So we are going to start with our plant nutrition, or you can say that is the autotrophic nutrition. The main requirement of autotrophic organisms are carbon, that is in the form of a carbon dioxide, that is CO2, energy, that is in the form of a carbohydrate, that means that is a food, and these are fulfilled by the process of the photosynthesis. So the plant, that is a green plant, they carry out the very important process that is known as the photosynthesis. The process by which the green plants or autotrophs synthesize their own food by using carbon dioxide and water in the presence of sunlight and chlorophyll is known as the photosynthesis. So raw material for the photosynthesis is carbon dioxide, water in the presence of sunlight and chlorophyll. Equation is CO2 plus H2O in the presence of light, that is your sunlight, and chlorophyll gives the glucose, that is your carbohydrate, that is your food, and oxygen, which is being released into the atmosphere. So what are the sources of the carbon dioxide? From where the plant get the carbon dioxide? That is from the atmosphere, that is from the surrounding. Water, which is being absorbed by the plant during the process of the watering, from the soil, and the sunlight from the sun, and the chlorophyll is the pigment present in the plant. The food prepared is carbohydrate. As you can see in the equation, that is glucose, and the glucose is carbohydrate, and they are utilized for providing energy to the plant, because the main mode of the nutrition, that is photosynthesis, is providing the energy to the plant. Carbohydrates which are not utilized immediately are stored in the form of a starch, which serve as the internal energy reserves to be used as and when required by the plants. But in animals or in our body, energy is stored in the form of a glycogen. So the glycogen is also being known as the animal starch. So the question may come, so carbohydrates are stored in the form of a starch and synthesized in the form of a glucose. So food is prepared is carbohydrate, and that carbohydrate is glucose stored in the form of a starch as an internal source of energy, and in animal the carbohydrates are being stored in the form of a glycogen, which is known as the animal starch. Site of photosynthesis. Site means the place where the photosynthesis takes place in the plants. So photosynthesis takes place in the mesophyll cells of the leaves. So name the part of the plant where the photosynthesis takes place, that is the leaves. Name the cell. The name of the cell is the mesophyll cell. In the cross section of the leaf under the microscope, we observe some cells contain green dots, and these green dots are cell organelle called chloroplast. So the organelle is chloroplast. Why? Because it contains a green pigment, that is your chlorophyll. Therefore, chloroplast is the main site of the photosynthesis, and chlorophyll is the essential raw material of the photosynthesis. So the site, if the question comes, name the part of plant, the answer is leaves. Cell, that is mesophyll cell. Organelle, that is the chloroplast. Why? Because they contains a green pigment, that is a chlorophyll, and they plays a very important role, and they are very essential raw material for the photosynthesis. So in this image you can see the cross section of the leaf. This is your NCRT diagram, very important diagram. You have to draw this diagram in your fair notebooks. So this is the, you can say, the mesophyll cells, and this green dot like structures, that is being known as a chloroplast. This is your upper epidermis, this is your lower epidermis, and in between that opening, that is known as the stomata, through which the exchange of the gases takes place, and they are the guard cells. These are the elongated mesophyll cells, 1, 2, 3. These are the mesophyll cells. They are of a column shape, they are of a round shape. They are the spongy cells, they are called as the palisade cells, and they are commonly being known as the mesophyll cell. So where the photosynthesis takes place, that is in the leaf. The cell, that is the mesophyll. Why? Because they are having the chloroplast, which are green in color because of the presence of the chlorophyll. So this is all about your plant nutrition, and in our next lesson we will discuss about the events of the photosynthesis, about the activities of the photosynthesis. Till then, stay home, stay healthy, stay safe. Thank you. Goodbye.